Big T Wild here. Welcome to the Comic Shtick Podcast, the podcast where comics are my shtick, and I am once again actually talking about comics. Because if you've been unaware, there's an uproar in the comic book community over this past weekend, but I'll get to that. Of course, as always, this episode is brought to you by my Patreon and my Etsy shop and my social media, pretty much. Patreon.com/Smokey's videos. Get early access to videos when available. I am serializing all of my comics on there. All 5 issues of Destructo Boy and the entirety of issue 1 of my Silver Age love letter to comics, history, and everything that has to do with comics. The Custodians Agents of Cross. Issue 1 is up there in its completion. For as little as $2, you get access to over 60 pages in this, and then the issues of Destructo Boy as I release them. Weekly, I post the pages on there. And I'm also currently releasing issue number 2 of the Custodians Agents of Cross as well. So it's exciting times. So check that out. I also post art on there and exclusive videos and series, audio commentaries, stuff about movies. I just watched X-Men Origins Wolverine for the first time in many years. And I released the audio commentary on there, and then a follow-up video where I kind of just discussed what it was I just made myself watch. So check that out. And let's get right into things with some surprising, shocking news. That is, the Cartoonist Kayfabe channel has seemingly become defunct due to what happened to one of its creators, Ed Piskor, a comic creator known for Hip Hop Family Tree, WYSIWYG, X-Men Grand Design, probably the most mainstream. It definitely is the most mainstream book he's ever done. So stuff from Harvey Picar in the 2000s, and then currently Red Room and Switchblade Shorties. He was outed for using his influence, what middling influence he had, to elicit sexual favors, at least attempt to. From about 3 women who have come forward at the time of this recording. One of them was underage at the time that he was in contact with her, which just brought out of the woodwork the people who immediately claim, oh, well, she must have known what she was doing. She was enticing him. Haven't you seen what she posted on Instagram? All of her sexy photos. Actually, did you know that the age of consent in Pennsylvania is 16? It's not. It's the de facto age of 18. Which, shocker surprise, means you can't have sexual relations with someone who is under the age of 18. I should also point out that at the time of these, specifically that first young woman who came out and spoke out against him, he was around 37, 38, compared to her 17 and into 18. Alleged grooming occurred. I should also say this is all alleged, but screenshots were shared, messages via Instagram DMs, sliding into the DMs, were revealed, showing it was clearly his account that it was allegedly coming from. Allegedly. Why would you do that? Why? There is, well, obvious, to beginning, it's a terrible thing to do. Why, fucking using that abuse of power, that relationship of not being equals to begin with. But second, because that one should be obvious to anybody who has an understanding of the moral construct of society. But why would you do something like that? One, on your, personal account, and 2, with such a paper trail is the word I was looking for. What an absolute, just slimy motherfucker. Oh, it made me very angry when I saw those things come out. It made me disgusted when I saw those things come out. And what made me even more disgusted was, one, going back to the whole, the defense being either to blame the young woman for posting photos of herself online. Nothing illicit or overtly sexual. Just these kinds of people that are blaming her and the other women for this are the just moral decline of wretched little men who think that because they have a penis, that for some reason they need to be granted the world, and when they're not, become incels, for a lack of better terms. If a woman is comfortable with who she is, with her body, with her sexuality, then that means she's a slut. But if she doesn't do things like that, oh, that must mean that she's some fucking prude. Is essentially what that mindset kind of boils down to, is what I feel. And the amount of times that I have had to read, because I've been following this story, waiting for a follow-up, and at the time of recording, nothing has come from either member of the Cartoonist Kayfabe YouTube channel. The amount of times I've had to read people say, well, you know, the age of consent in Pennsylvania is 16. Oh my god. If you're very unfamiliar with what I am discussing, you can find it online. I think comicsbeat.com probably has the most extensive article that sort of catalogs everything between all three people that have come forward and made the announcements. As I said, the first girl that did it, she was 17 at the time that Ed Piskor started getting in contact with her. He knew that because he asked her specifically, although the dates allegedly aren't, I believe, posted. I can't remember. That's another argument that, you know, is brought up. I get the feeling if you're asking somebody when you're about just under 40, if you're 17 or 18, that's not the question you should be asking. You shouldn't be doing that. So he's calling her, allegedly, naughty girl and talking about all this stuff, telling her how she can come come stay at his house, and he has an extra bedroom that she can sleep in, and it's the saddest thing. It's pitiful, is what it is. It's downright pitiful. If he wasn't such a slimy greaseball of a man who tries to act tough. He's explaining that, oh, he has this nice back bedroom with a drawing table and a bed and all these comics and the old video games. Oh my god. It's almost like, oh, hey, I got a puppy and an Xbox in my van. Allegedly. Not to make light of, these accusations, because you shouldn't. These are very serious accusations. That is something that happens, that plenty of people would like to pretend doesn't happen. But that is, unfortunately, not the world that we currently reside in. It is not the industry, as we have seen from the past several years. It's not some conspiracy to cancel Ed Piskor before his big art show in Pittsburgh, which got canceled. It's not that. It's finally someone speaking up against it. This was 4 years ago is when that happened, or so. 4? Yeah, about 4 or 5 years ago, I think. And as you can see, if you've been following this story, there's clearly a reason why women don't speak out about this. Because they get harassed. They get verbally assaulted. God knows what else was in the messages that she got from people. The comic skaters, I'd imagine, were probably pretty bad. I don't know what the fuck's going on with the comic skaters in this thing, because they hate Ed Piskor too, but they also hate the girl. It's mind-boggling. Just these insane people who are so self-absorbed with themselves that they think that they are the correct ones in this world. Anyway, the utter harassment and just vitriol that has gone out against the three young women who have, spoken out against him should be clearly defined as the reason why no one has said anything since. Me Too didn't just come out of nowhere as some grand machination by the Hollywood liberal elite to ruin your favorite directors and movie makers. It's the fact that someone actually finally built up the courage to speak out against ill in the world that they had faced personally, and others saw that courage and were themselves emboldened to let their own troubles be known. And that's what happened here. Over the course of 3 days, Ed Piskor's life allegedly fell into ruin. So the other two, if I remember correctly, one of them, I vaguely remember the third, but one of them explained that Ed Piskor, the big takeaway that I got was that he allegedly offered to trade her his agent's phone number if she blew him. Just look up a photo of Ed Piskor and imagine hearing that coming from his little mouth. So that is what has happened. As you can tell, I feel very vehemently against this. I quickly fell off of anything. I will admit, I downloaded a bunch of the Cartoonist Kayfabe YouTube videos, ones that I thought I'd enjoy, specifically the interviews, because I've been following that channel for years. I've talked about it before. I've discussed it. It's inspired me to make my own comics, The Custodians and Destructo Boy, among others. So this was a shocker, and I figured, before I really looked into it, I bet something's going to happen to the YouTube channel. And on Saturday or Sunday, can't remember when, it did. The YouTube channel was shut down. Ed Piskor deleted his Twitter, which, according to what I've seen people discussing online, means that the recipients of any messages from that Twitter account can no longer see them. So that's suspicious. He also deleted the Cartoonist Kayfabe Twitter account and privated his Instagram account. And that lasted a couple hours most of the day on over the weekend, maybe Sunday or so. And then I'd imagine someone told him that that wasn't a good idea and that he should undo it. And so he did, but now the YouTube channel and everything is back up. But where was I going with this? I was talking about how I followed them and I downloaded the videos. But now I don't think I'm going to watch them. I downloaded them to have, and then just to have something to play in the background. But now I'm thinking about maybe just editing out anything he has to say. If you see online anybody who says, "Oh, well, I knew it all along. He was a creep. He was a shithead. Of course he did this. I knew it." Anybody who's saying something along those lines. No, they didn't. Unless they personally interacted with Ed Piskor, unless they personally interacted with someone who he attempted to manipulate through his uncomfortably long fingers, they didn't know anything and are now trying to feel superior in the wake of this revelation, seeing other people be shocked by it. They're now, like I said, attempting to feel superior about themselves as yeah, obviously I knew what was going to happen. Only idiots could have seen this coming. So anybody who said that, acting like they were pariahs for having some kind of forbidden knowledge that no one would let them share or speak. They're just... they're losers who want to feel important in the matters at hand. If you were a fan of the channel, either for the comics, or a fan of Ed Piskor's comics, and you're watching this, and you were shocked and you felt naive for not seeing it, don't. Because again, there's no way you could have known unless you were personally interacting with him on a regular basis. He revealed it to you. You spoke and were told explicitly by someone who was well aware that he was like this. Don't feel terrible for this feeling like it's a rug pulled out from under you. Feel terrible that a 40-year-old man who makes comic books thought that he was powerful enough to manipulate women to get his own just adolescent sexual fantasies fulfilled, and thought that he could get away with it. Feel terrible. Think that another person in a position of power attempted to do something like this again, under the very thin guise, seemingly, of either friendship or some kind of mentorship. I was disappointed. I was shocked. I was surprised. Ed Piskor was the sort of reason that I really wanted to start making comics. Because I saw X-Men Grand Design, one of the issues, like several years ago, probably about 2018, 2019, and I thought, holy shit, this guy's art style is trippy. It looks like an old comic book. It doesn't look like any other comic, and it's getting published by Marvel? Holy shit. It was sort of a realization that, hey, you don't have to have a regular-looking art style, a sort of modern house style, to get really published and noticed. So that was like a revelation that I had. And then I discovered the Cartoonist Kayfabe channel, and I started following along. And Jim Rugg, I discovered him. I began favoring his work more. I studied graphic design in college. That's what I got my degree in. So his side of the table was sort of where I began falling towards, because I believe he had a similar trajectory in college and education is via graphic design. He was far more interested seemingly in the craft of making the books, and that sort of got me interested in the craft of actually making the books. That is why, you know, the Custodians Agents of Cross looks the way it is and is designed the way it is with all these fake ads, because I learned from that channel that a comic book isn't just the neat little pictures inside. The comic book is the whole package. And that is a great little piece of advice that I offer and tell anybody whenever I'm at a convention or something, and there's somebody younger there who wants to make comics asking me about it. I tell them, don't forget that it's the whole package. It's not just the pictures. Ironically enough, neither of their comics are the best written, but they're still enjoyable for the most part. Maybe a little less of Ed's. But over the past year or two, it seems like Ed Piskor started to just get more abrasive and a little more full of himself on the channel. I'm part of the Cartoonist Kayfabe Facebook group, at least before it was renamed after this event, trying to distance themselves as much as possible. And that group has been just barely about the actual YouTube channel itself for like years now. It's been its own thing for a while. But I agree with most of the people in there saying like, oh, well, shit, I thought that whole character he was playing, it was just that, a character. Apparently, this isn't his. Apparently, this is just who he is. A self-aggrandizing comic book nerd who wanted to be a cool, punky, bad boy. Instead, in reality, he has come out to be just a dullard of a man-child who's using what success he had to live out his adolescent, horny fantasies of having a control over women. So I wrapping it up, because I've already spent half of the fucking episode discussing this when I did not intend to. I just got really livid and into it. I don't see Cartoonist Kayfabe continuing. Seemingly Ed is in most control of the channel. I highly doubt it was Jim Rugg who was the one deleting comments and privating the whole YouTube channel and all that. That is a very Ed Piskor move. As you see, if you look up any article about it, the mouse controversy with a Red Room cover from a couple years ago, he sort of did the same thing, which is where he turned off the comments on his social media accounts and then just didn't say anything and waited for everything to blow over. But I don't see that really happening now. This has been covered by the local Pittsburgh News. They interviewed his father, who, oh my god, this is already an embarrassing enough situation to be in, because let's not forget, he allegedly is still a piece of shit for doing this. But imagine the utter shock and embarrassment and anger he must have been feeling over the weekend as the life just fell apart, just crumbling into sand through his fingertips. And then the news, the local Pittsburgh News, interviews his dad. Just a child's worst nightmare. And the dad says, "Oh, well, my son hasn't gotten in trouble in his all 40 years. He's a good boy," something along those lines. And just how embarrassing must that be after he's worked so much to create this veneer guise of this bad boy of comics, this punk guy, oh, like, you know, he's a real OG sort of cool cat. And now you got your dad on public news saying, "Oh, he's a good boy." My god. I doubt I'm going to get rid of the comics I have of him, just from a sort of archival standpoint. I did buy Red Room, the trade paperback, and the first 2 issues, just to show support. I never read them. Not a single page. I mainly got it for the signature, which is kind of worthless now. Not like I was going to sell them anyway. But yeah, I had no interest in Red Room. I don't give a shit. It's sitting up on my bookshelf collecting dust for the past couple of years. But we'll have to see where this goes. I guess maybe next week I'll offer a follow-up if anything appears out of it. Like I said, at the time of recording this on Thursday, the 28th, neither have made any public announcements. Okay, well, I guess that ends that. Let's move on to some more happy news. But this all boils down to let's get some horrible self-promotion in here. My new YouTube series, Cover to Cover Comics, in which I fill a void that just happens to have appeared in the YouTube sphere of overhead camera discussing ad nauseum, analyzing, looking over issues of comic books. That allows me to discuss comics in a more thorough aspect, because I am obsessed with comics. I love the medium. It is just fantastic. I can go on and on about just comics, comic history, creating comics, what goes into making it, the color, the inking, just the philosophical idea of the imagination that is captured within these two-dimensional worlds of paper. And that's what I wanted to do. It's fun. I've recorded a couple episodes thus far. I'm thinking trying to get maybe about 3 episodes a week or so. And then every other week I'll do What Is. But that is, hey, if you're a fan of Cartoonist Kayfabe and you're looking for a replacement, it just so happens to, coincidentally enough, release at 7 a.m. PST and 9 a.m. EST in the United States. I don't know what that is in Greenwich Mean Time. Gerard Way However, a cool cat in the comic book continuum, well known for the Umbrella Academy and On Raven's Wings, the comic he made as a teenager in the 90s, which is like The Crow, and also former frontman of My Chemical Romance, launches a new Dark Horse horror comic. According to the article, he is co-writing it with Sean Simon, and Chris Weston is on art. At least, yeah. Wait. Yeah. Chris Weston and Motohiro Hayakawa is providing the cover art of the first issue. I don't know who the hell these people are. But cool. The Dark Horse Comics describes the new series as Derek? You remember that weird Comedy Central show about that grown man who had a pet dog who was a grown man in a dog costume? That's Derek. Describes it as Derek meets Doctor Who in 6 psychotic episodes. So it is a 6-issue series coming out from Gerard Way and Sean Simon and Chris Weston from Dark Horse. I don't know if I'll check it out. I might. Here's the thing. The only Gerard Way comics I have read are On Raven's Wings. But yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna watch it. Watch it? I don't know if I'm gonna read it. That'd be pretty shitty, just watching a comic. Watching it, fall over? Alright, moving on to everyone's favorite new segment of the show, called The Crow's Nest. Caw-caw! This is a segment of the show that I have started for some reason, where I discuss all the crow-related news I could find. Pretty much one article. I should let you know that I've never read the Crow comic. I've never seen any of the Crow movies. I'm vaguely aware of what the Crow is, but I was never interested, and I have no Crow. I have no clue about the Crow. So, Ernie Hudson was interviewed about the upcoming Crow movie, to which he said, quote, "I haven't seen it. The actor, who I can't think of his name, is playing the lead. I love and respect. But for me, the Crow is Brandon Lee. I can't imagine the Crow is many different stories. Let's hope they don't try to redo him. That they do their own thing with it, and take it in a different direction. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen any of the other Crow movies because of what happened to Brandon." That is a far softer sort of discussion regarding the new Crow film than the director of the original Crow film let out. Last week I talked about that. He was quite angry that they're making a remake. But I agree with Ernie Hudson completely. There have been plenty of Crow comics, apparently. The sort of tattooed Crow aspect looks like a Crow series from like the late 90s, early 2000s, I think. And yeah, why are you retreading this old ground that people love when you could go to new territories and find a whole new audience that would love it? There's still emo kids, right? There's always going to be emo kids. You can get all the emos from the early 2000s. You can get the people who love the original Crow, maybe. But I don't know. I guess seemingly based on the trailer for the new Crow movie, I guess that's correct. I don't know, though. Sort of the brief discussion I saw online regarding that trailer, it kind of just seemed like people were confused by where they were going with it. Which may be a good thing, maybe a bad thing. But as I said, I have no investment in The Crow, even though I have a whole segment about it dedicated on my podcast. Alright, moving on to some exciting video game news. I had no place to put this. Nothing else is related to video games or anything like this. Nothing really Marvel related either. That's like comic book featured. So here it is, just smack dab right in the middle. Marvel Rivals is a new video game which is a 6v6 player shooter PvP F2P. My God. So, if that sounded like absolute gibberish to you, that means it is two teams of 6 players. It's a first-person shooter, player versus player, free-to-play video game. Think Overwatch, but with Marvel characters. And it looks really neat. There was a free-to-play Overwatch knockoff that was, like, weirdly, like, almost medieval themed. Like, 10 years ago I was playing it. And it was fun. I remember you would ride in on a horse, and then the horse would disappear, and then you would just play. Can't remember what the fuck that game was called, but I really enjoyed that. I've never played Overwatch, never got into it, never cared to watch people play it, but I might check this out. This reminds me of one of my favorite Batman-themed games, Gotham City Imposters. Does anybody remember Gotham City Imposters? It was just a weird take on the DC Gotham mythos. It was the Joker gang versus like the Sons of the Bat, and you're just fucking having a turf war in the middle of Gotham, and it's like, it was cartoony. It was almost like Team Fortress meets DC Comics. It was such a fun game. I had a blast playing it. It died like several years ago. They should bring that back. I doubt they will, because Warner Brothers Discovery's in charge, but that was such a great game, and this just reminded me of that. Okay, moving on. Looks like the rest of this is pretty much movie-related. Where am I? Joker 2, A Foule Deux, is going to be the, obviously, you know, we all know it's going to be a musical, but what we have just learned is that it's going to at least feature 15 cover songs. It's not just any musical. It is a jukebox musical. Bam! Hit that jukebox like the Fonz. They didn't say what the songs were. Qui-Gon's Noble Demise, maybe? Noble Sacrifice? Joker's Noble Sacrifice is one of the songs. Sure, cool. Jukebox musicals, those are fun, I guess. Boyd Holbrook has been rumored to be in talks to play Harvey Dent in Matt Reeves' The Batman Part 2, again, which has been delayed about 2 years, or a year and a half or something. Boyd Holbrook, if you're unfamiliar with him, he played the Reaver cybernetic bad guy in Logan, the one that had the metal hand that could, you know, turn around. It was that guy. That's cool. I could see him being a pretty good Harvey Dent. I would hope that if Harvey Dent is in this film, then I'd like to see him not become Two-Face. I'd like to see it just be Harvey Dent through the whole, like, nearly 3-hour-long run time, which I'm sure is what it's going to be. Really emphasize that early Batman career aspect of Dent, Gordon, and the Batman working together. You know, like we see, it might just be Long Halloween, honestly, which is what happens in that. Batman Long Halloween is where we see the who everybody thinks is the Calendar Man who's killing people, but it's actually revealed, spoiler alert, to be Harvey Dent, who is killing these mafiosos in Gotham. And we're still at that early point of that Batman's career, to where, you know, organized crime is still a major issue. There's not a whole lot of weird comic book people showing up yet. So that's a neat aspect, if it is at all true, which it could very well not be. Beetlejuice Beetlejuice has released its trailer. Clever name. It looks fun. I'm gonna see it. I love the original Beetlejuice. That is just a fantastic film. I love the musical Beetlejuice, which I discussed in a previous episode, a very early episode, where I went over musicals based on other intellectual properties. So one of them was like Evil Dead. I discussed the SpongeBob musical, and then I discussed the Beetlejuice musical. I've watched that one a number of times. It's fun. But this stars Jenna Ortega. It stars Winona Ryder. It does not star the guy who played her dad, because he's like a pedophile. It stars Michael Keaton, who looks just as great and sounds just like he did in the original. It really does not reveal much, aside from the fantastic use of the Banana Boat song being played slowly and dramatically, sung by children, operatically. Oh my god, that was incredible. And the worst part is that that joke just went right over their heads, because it's clearly making fun of all of these films that rejuvenate the franchise 30, 40 years later. Jurassic Park, Star Wars, I can't think of the other ones that it just went out of my mind what I was going to say next. But, you know, the slow piano cover version of it, and it's always the main theme of the film, or like Indiana Jones did it too with Dial of Destiny. But now we get the slow, dramatic recover of the Banana Boat song. And that was just so fucking perfect. And I like that they're playing it at a funeral, too. The funeral of, like, Winona Ryder's characters, Lydia Dietz, I guess of her father's. I love that they just killed him off. But I'm very excited to see this. I never watched Wednesday, so I don't really know what that's all about. I like Jenna Ortega in... Honestly, I don't think I've seen a single thing that Jenna Ortega is in. She just seems cool from interviews I've watched of her, and she's very pretty. But speaking of Star Wars, because I briefly brought it up, TruMoo Blue Mulk from Stur Wurs is releasing. You heard me right. TruMoo Blue Mulk is releasing from Stur Wurs. Everybody's favorite blue milk from the galaxy far, far away is releasing in stores in a big milk jug. I don't know why I thought this was pertinent to discuss, because that's really about it. Seemingly it's tying in with the Acolyte, I guess. That's fun. If I see it in the store, I'll probably buy it, just because I'm a Star Wars freak, and I'm a huge fucking nerd. I have boxes of Star Wars themed macaroni and cheese that I got, because I thought they looked neat. That were somewhere in my Star Wars storage stuff. Man. Live action The Sims movie is in the works, with Margot Robbie set to produce and Kate Herron set to direct. Kate Herron, if I remember correctly, worked on Loki, and Margot Robbie, of course, who the fuck doesn't know who Margot Robbie is? Now, with The Sims. I love The Sims. I love The Sims 3. It's my favorite game. Never really played Sims 4. I wasn't a fan of the drastic art style change, where it became very cartoony, which seemed like that was like the thing, if I remember correctly, from when Sims 4 came out. I remember reading like a video game magazine or something and being like, oh no, Sims 4 is doing it too? Is it... Maybe Civilization is what I'm thinking of, because I remember seeing a couple of games that I really liked that the next iteration went like cartoony graphics, and I just wasn't a fan. But Civilization was also one of those where it just got sort of goofy and caricaturized. But there's a lot of things you can do with The Sims in the idea of a movie. I had a couple of ideas. And one of those is a horror slasher movie. Picture it now. It is an idyllic cul-de-sac neighborhood in whatever little sim town. Maybe it's that one from Sims 3 where there's the horseshoe-shaped beach and the houses that go alongside in the big town square. Whatever that map was called. And it's this nice little, small town, America. Along the coastline. Everybody knows each other. But then one day, someone new moves into the neighborhood. Maybe it's like, oh yeah, that house that's been being constructed for the past 9 months, it's finally done. And then the new people move in, or the new person moves in. and they're creepy. They don't talk to anybody. They say nothing. And slowly but surely, members of the neighborhood start disappearing because it's The Sims, and this is a game of The Sims where the person playing has gotten bored and has decided to be a serial kidnapper who is luring the Sims into their house and trapping them in the basement or something. Maybe killing them. I think that would be a fun reveal. The other one is a sort of War of the Worlds body snatcher movie. I'd imagine it works similar to how my other idea begins, this idyllic little small town where they don't realize that they're just video game characters in The Sims. And one day, a emerald green triangle just appears above the city. And slowly but surely, people start getting these little green diamonds over their heads that don't go away, and they don't act like themselves. They do strange things. They take their clothes off and start whooping and hollering, dancing around. They jump into the pool, and then they look at the ladder, and the pool ladder disappears. I bet that's going to be something if this movie does go through. I bet that there's going to be a gag where that happens. The pool ladder, somebody's just gets thrown in the pool or jumps in the pool, and then the ladder disappears when the camera pans back over, or they try to get out. And like something else happens to draw all the rest of the characters away. The person in the pool gets forgotten, and then the credits scene is going to be them in the pool doing the sort of Sims animation where they're like drowning or something, or trying to get out, or they're just floating there, just help, anybody, what's going on, something like that. But those are my two ideas for what could possibly be in this Sims movie. The Penguin got an official trailer, and I don't really remember watching it. I know I watched it. I can't remember a single thing that happened. But I remember thinking, this looks good. I'm excited to see it. I don't really know what to expect. Seemingly this takes place right after, and then I imagine sometime later between the first film and the next film, obviously, because the city section of the city is still flooded. I believe we see a little bit of that, unless there's a time jump, and that's just like a flashback. But I highly anticipate this to be a good show. I know, controversial take, right? Seth Rogan has apparently, it's rumored or leaked that he is writing and producing an R-rated Venom animated project. There you go. Last week, I think, I was talking about Venom: The Last Dance and wondering what they're going to do with Eddie Brock now. They're retiring live-action Eddie Brock, and they're bringing animated Eddie Brock to the limelight. The The Ninja Turtles animated movie did really well. I think Rogan worked on that too. He's produced that. He produced Invincible, The Boys. Did he do Invincible? Yeah, because he's fucking just making sure that good comic book adaptations are coming out. But yeah, apparently he's working on a Venom project. I don't care about Venom, so neat. Happy for the people who like Venom. And finally, Deadpool 3. A poster was seemingly leaked that reveals a couple members of the Deadpool core. These include Baby Pool, Kid Pool, a Dog Pool we see again, and Head Pool. Now, Head Pool is the most interesting one out of there, I think, because either it's going to be full-on 100% adaptation, oh my gosh, my nose, of Headpool from the comics, who is the Marvel Zombies universe Deadpool. He gets decapitated, and then escapes that reality. Can't remember how, and he gets a little propeller in his head, a little propeller cap that he flies around on. So it's either going to be that, which, it kind of looks like that based on the it's silhouette art, so you don't see anything. It looks like those Apple iPod ads from the 2000s. So it's either going to be that, which is more likely, or it's going to be Weapon 11 Deadpool from X-Men Origins Wolverine, who, if you'll remember, gets decapitated, and in the credits scene, wakes up with his mouth broken open after it was sewn shut, and he makes a shh. And then nothing ever came of that. But now it might, although probably not, since they killed him in that, in Deadpool 2. But hey, it could be a different universe. I would love if it was the Weapon 11 X-Men Origins Deadpool head floating around. Especially because I just watched, like I said, X-Men Origins Wolverine. Alright, I don't think this week I'm going to be getting a lot of Savage Dragon stuff in, which is good because I haven't had the chance to read many of the issues yet. I think I've only gotten through about 2 or 3 issues since the last time I recorded. I usually read before bed, and I've just been staying up way too late working on my comics, working on the YouTube videos, just not getting a lot of sleep because I'm staying up late. And I've just been going straight to bed because my wife is already long asleep. And it's not like I'm going to fucking turn the light on and then fucking read a comic. So I'm going to discuss Ghostbusters Frozen Kingdom. I am a huge Ghostbusters fan. Ghostbusters is one of my favorite film franchises. I love it. I'm really into the occult, and pretty much all the stuff that Dan Aykroyd's into, I love as well. You know, aliens, ghosts, paranormal stuff. This bookshelf right here, one of these shelves is dedicated entirely to just weird shit like that. And if you couldn't notice, next to the 3 little figures I have of the original Ghostbusters, because I never bought them when they came out a couple years ago, and Egon is just ridiculously expensive, so I'm waiting on him to get here. I also had to have the Ecto-1, which scales perfectly with these little 5-6 inch figures. Look how cool this is! Oh, I love it so much. And the best part, it lights up in a horrible strobe effect that goes way too fast. I wish it made the sound. Here, watch. Something like that. I can't remember. This is just so fucking cool. The lid just pops up like that, and you're supposed to fucking put popcorn in here, but I'm not gonna do that. If anything, I'll just store my Ghostbusters toys inside for when I go on an adventure. But this isn't the only popcorn bucket I got, because I also bought this one. This cute little Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and he's hugging the bowl. Seemingly it's made out of his little tummy, because it's the same exact color as him. And over there, I don't collect Funko Pops. I never have. I've never cared for them. But I did fall in love with the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man Funko Pops from Ghostbusters Afterlife. So my wife kept buying me those. They're just so cute, and it works so well for those little mushroom marshmallow guys. I love Ghostbusters. What can I say? I was a huge fan of it as a kid. I remember just falling in love with the idea of it. I always wanted the video game, but I didn't have a console that would play the realistic version, and the cartoony version I felt was inferior. Now I wish I had both of them. I really should look into buying that original one. I wonder if it came out in the original Xbox, because I don't know where my PlayStation 2 is. But I love Ghostbusters. As a kid, I molded and created a model clay Slimer that was about this big, because I just loved the design of him. And, oh my gosh, it was fantastic. I just loved everything about it. I loved the ghost blowjob scene. That awoke something in me that I still don't understand to this day. But I something I discovered watching this movie, there's going to be spoilers immediately, right off the bat. I don't do non-spoilers, spoilers sections. Something I realized is that obviously the first Ghostbusters is the best one. I think everybody can agree on that. But I pretty much get enjoyment, about the same level of enjoyment, from all the Ghostbusters films. I think they're all about on the same level of quality and entertainment for me, except for maybe the 2016 one, which wasn't great. There's some good bits here and there, but I think that one just relied a little too much on improv rather than getting a proper story going. But that's not what I'm talking about today. I'm talking about Ghostbusters Frozen Kingdom. So, I'm a ghost head. I don't know. A buster? I'm a ghostbuster. Bustin' just makes me feel good. So, let's get right into it. Speaking of other Ghostbusters films, something that just hit me like a little fat slime ghost is that every Ghostbusters movie, no matter what the quality of the rest of the film is, the opening scenes are always fantastic. Ghostbusters 1, it's the library ghost. Ghostbusters 2 does it to a far lesser extent. Ghostbusters 2, it establishes the like weird sickly ooze that's lurking beneath the city, and like the baby stroller scene, which is just weird. Ghostbusters 2016 has the like haunted house tour guide and the tour group. Ghostbusters Afterlife breaks the mold that I'm discussing. Ghostbusters Afterlife and Ghostbusters 2 are, I guess, was the two that don't have this, really. Which is, Egon is, he traps the ghost in the Ivo Shandor mine, or whatever he does, and then he sets up the house, and then he dies as the, like, Evil Dead monster is chasing after him or whatever. And then Ghostbusters Frozen Kingdom has the firefighters in early 20th century New York discovering the aftermath of Garaka, the strange ice demon. But I love those intros like that, like the first Ghostbusters, like the 2016 Ghostbusters, like Frozen Kingdom, because it's the spookiest, scariest version of the Ghostbusters. Like, it's the scariest thing that probably happens, because it's regular people experiencing just downright terrifying shit. It's not these dudes who are like, they're already into it like Ray and Egon are, or they're aloof like Venkman, or they just hide, I don't know, however they're feeling like Winston does. Tries to act, Winston, I feel like he tries to act a little more tough, at least in the first one, until he gets used to what he's witnessing. And then he's like, yeah, this is fucking awesome! It's just regular people who are just going about their day-to-day lives, never experienced anything like this before for the most part, just running into heinous, demonic shit. And I just love that about the intros. I hope that the next Ghostbusters, because I think this one did well enough to warrant a trilogy of them. I hope we get something else like it. Like that, just normal people interacting with whatever the fucking crazy paranormal supernatural element is. Because I really like that. I thought that this one was a great film. I do enjoy Afterlife more. That's probably just because it's that nostalgia, and Afterlife is such a just closing of the book on the original Ghostbusters that I feel all been craving for. Ghostbusters the video game as well, I think, does the whole introduction with the normal people, if I remember correctly. Ghostbusters the video game, I wholly accept as canon in this new universe. There's a little bit with Ivo Shandor that you'd have to fudge a little bit, but that is such a great video game. I think I'm going to replay it and upload it onto the channel. Let me know what you think. But anyway, I thought that this was a great film. I had a blast. My wife, who was there next to me, she loves Ghostbusters as well. She thankfully okayed my buying of both of these popcorn buckets at the theater, because guess what? That was $70 worth of merchandise That's the most I've ever spent at the movies. $70. Both of these things are like 20, $30. Plus the popcorn that they add on, plus the drink. We got one fucking drink, which was a root beer, and a candy bar. The candy bar is probably where most of the price came from. That's also, like, I think the most that I've ever eaten at a movie theater as well. I usually only get a cup of water because I'm a weirdo. But anyway, we both highly enjoyed the film, greatly enjoyed this film. Thought it was a blast, laughing the whole time. It was a hoot. Again, I prefer Afterlife more, but this was still just a very enjoyable time. I liked the monster. I loved the character interactions. I like the stuff with Phoebe, and I enjoyed this expanding of the Ghostbusters lore and all the stuff with Winston. Something I did not like were the cliche elements, specifically Melody. Melody, I thought she looked so familiar. I thought I knew who she was. I thought I recognized her. I think I was just getting her confused with Grace Van Dien from Stranger Things. She played Chrissy the cheerleader in the most recent season. They just look similar. They look alike. But then I looked up the girl who plays Melody, and I have no fucking clue who she is. And my wife also thought she looked familiar, too. It's because she was also thinking of Grace Van Dien. But the cliches, like, I really liked the idea of Ghost Melody. Assuming that is her real name, and she just didn't forget her name, who she is. And because, spoiler alert, she's controlled by Garaka, who is this just... It's a demon. He's a demon. It is a demon who looks like Darth Plagueis and controls ice and fear and can brainwash and manipulate other ghosts. So when Melody was introduced, I was like, oh, this is really cool. Phoebe is friends with a ghost. We've never seen anything like this in Ghostbusters. I guess you could say in the real Ghostbusters cartoon, they were friends with Slimer, but he's more of just a rambunctious stray pet. I never watched the cartoon. I never read the comics, which I know are great. At least the IDW ones. There's the whole multiverse crossover thing that they do as well. But I never have gotten into those. If there's a recommended ones that you're aware of, please let me know. But I really enjoyed that whole setup with Melody and Phoebe. Then the reveal happened. There's that whole scene where Melody gets invited into the firehouse, and it's, she's touring around. She finds the ghost capture containment unit thingy. Then it cuts to the whole Garaka's flowing through his ice fear, whatever presence, what little presence he can have that escapes into this dimension because he's still trapped in that little ball. I thought it was going to be like, oh no, is Melody going to die? Undie? Re-die? Be attacked by the demon or something? Nope! It's just exactly what you'd expect. She's working for the demon because she thinks that she can see her family or something. I suppose you can give her the benefit... Well, no, you can't give her the benefit of the doubt. Because seemingly Garaka isn't fully controlling her because Melody shows hesitation and emotion regarding Phoebe and, like, her family. Because she's like, does it really have to be her that we use? Like, isn't there anybody else? So she's seemingly in control of her actions. But there's a couple other cliches that escape my mind. That's the main one that I was just really disappointed about. There are pacing issues in this film. I feel it was a wider, more action-packed... it was more grand. The ending, especially. The whole frozen city aspect is something they really didn't show that much of. There's scenes in the trailer of Paul Rudd with the big fursuit jacket on, reacting to something. That's not in the film. The whole climax of the film just comes down to the firehouse. garage, really, which, while neat, I wish that we saw more happening in the city. Although I do like the whole, like, we're trapped in this tiny little fucking place, and we're surrounded by ghosts. I think that they should have, if, they cut more out of the climax, the big final battle. But I feel like they should have reworked it in a way to have more ghosts assaulting the firehouse, because we only get the possessor and the little fat rolling one who throws up. We don't see that weird demon thing that its eyes glow through the darkness in the Ghostbusters, like, HQ containment center that's built in an old aquarium. We never see anything of that. What the fuck was that? I bet that came back. Maybe that's what Paul Rudd was reacting to in the trailer that we don't see that was cut. I hope that they aren't fuckers and they release all the deleted scenes, but who knows anymore. So that was a disappointment, but again, the idea is cool, which is the original Ghostbusters are there, the new Ghostbusters are there, Kumail Nanjiani's there, and he's doing his Fire Master thing, which I'm totally fine with. It makes sense. If ghosts are real in this world, demons and ghosts are real, it would make sense that there would naturally become people who try to capture and harness them and control them. It was the Fire Masters in ancient Asia, and it's the Ghostbusters in modern New York. I'm fine with that. If you're fine with there being a fucking, like, prophecy tapestry thing in the second movie, how is this any crazier than anything that happens in the original two? Or even the video game. But yeah, that ending, like I said, it's a neat idea. The Ghostbusters are all together. They're trapped in this fucking house. It's like Call of Duty Zombies, but with the ghosts. But it was they don't do anything like that. It's just a couple of ghosts show up. People are running around talking to each other and going up and down the stairs. The kids go up to the roof very briefly, and then they come back down. And then Garaka shows up. Tall, dark, and horny at 12 o'clock. That stayed in the movie, which I'm fine with. Venkman, he's aloof, like I said earlier. Phoebe. Let's talk about Phoebe seemingly being either bisexual or gay. I'm fine with that. That doesn't bother me at all. I was surprised. I was like, are they inferring... Like, are they alluding to her being attracted to this ghost girl? And then when she releases her spirit from her body and she gets super close to Melody, I was like, oh yeah. She has a crush on this ghost. I'm fine with that completely. No issue. If Ray Stantz can have a dream about a ghost giving him a blowy, then this girl can be gay. Gay for ghosts. Like I said, I have no issue with that. Here's something that I was questioning, is what the fuck is with the Stay Puffed little guys still being around? This one's my favorite. I love this one. Because look at his little angry face as he's doing this fucking curl with the marshmallows. There's a bunch of other ones, too, that I never got that I'm disappointed by, but they just got ridiculously expensive. There's this one that's eating a graham cracker and he looks very angry. But they're just so little cute. They are cute. I did enjoy them when they appeared. They are fun. They're just fucking little psychos. They just make me laugh so much. How just gruesome they are to each other. They're fucking little terrors. They could, if they wanted to, they could easily murder a person. But how are they still around? I don't really remember how they showed up in the original. I think it's whatever the offshoots of Gozer or something like that, I think, from the original. Or not the original, but Afterlife. Because it's like Gozer's presence emanates throughout the little town in Oklahoma that they're in. And Paul Rudd and Mom, whatever her name is, they become Vince Clortho and Zool. And then the marshmallows come to life as well. So how are they still here? Podcasts suggest that they might be breeding somehow, which, what does that mean? What? And also they are some sort of impish demons, because they're they're obsessed with the emanations of Garaka when he shows up. They're controlled by him as well. So like, what the fuck is going on with the little Stay Puft guys? Pitchfield. So here we go with the whole the new Ghostbusters, which is Winston Zedmore. Let me just talk about Winston and Ray. I am so happy that Dan Aykroyd and Ernie Hudson get so much time to shine in this film. That's probably my favorite part. I love those two guys. Honestly, I think that they're my favorite of the Ghostbusters. Ray Stantz is definitely my favorite. If you noticed on this little jacket that I bought from a Halloween store, whatever that Halloween shop is that comes around every November to October, that takes over abandoned stores for the month, like some sort of living presence that comes out of hibernation every autumn. I got it from there if you're interested. But I had the Stantz patch on there. Ray Stantz always been my favorite. Dan Aykroyd, I really dig him as the character. I think it's the fact that he's also just into the same things that his character is, and I am also into the same things that he and his character are. But I was so happy with the amount of screen time that they got in this film. Bill Murray, is it any surprise that he was shitting on the movie? Who cares what Bill Murray says? He's just a grouchy old man who is just really aloof. There we go again. Bill Murray is just an aloof old man. So whatever. Who cares? But I loved Ray and Winston and how much they had going for him. I love that Winston is also, is that how you pronounce his last name? They finally say Winston Zeddemore. I have always heard it said Winston Zedmore. What was that about? But anyway, Ray and Winston. I love that Winston is the one Ghostbuster who has his whole life together. He comes on in the first film because like they couldn't get Eddie Murphy, so they cut back his role drastically, and he's just some working class guy. And then in like the video game, they make an allusion to who the character was originally going to be, which is another just well-versed scientist guy with a doctorate and all this stuff. He gets his doctorate in between Ghostbusters 2 and the video game. And then in Afterlife, he's the only successful one. He has, like I said, his life together. And so much so that he is able to fund Ghostbusters research. And there's a whole division of them located just outside of New York, maybe somewhere in New Jersey. I don't know where that was. But one of the members of this new research facility is named Pitchfield, who is played by James Acaster. I did not realize that until afterward. And I love that he is a carbon copy of cartoon come to life of the real Ghostbusters cartoon version of Egon Spengler, who, if you're unfamiliar, they make pretty much all the other three look similar to their actors, but for some reason in that 80s cartoon of the Ghostbusters, they made Egon blonde, and Pitchfield is literally cartoon Egon, and I and one woman in the audience of the showing that we were at, which was surprisingly packed, even though it was at 11:50 a.m. I thought there would be a lot less people there. But only she and I laughed when he appeared, just out of amazement that it was Egon from the cartoon. What else do I have? I discussed the Firemaster, the Ray and Winston, the original Ghostbusters. I was shocked. I was hoping when there's that big looming on the door of the the firehouse near the end, and Bill Murray comes through. I think, is it Bill Murray? I think it is. Or is it Janine? I can't remember which one. I like that Janine's back and she's working for Winston. That's neat. She's sort of like his liaison kind of character. I thought for sure that they were going to get Rick Moranis back in his role as Louis Tully because he suits up in Ghostbusters 2. Everybody thinks that he's the hero because he shows up late after they've saved the day. And I was just, oh my god, I would have lost my mind if he had shown up in this. But unfortunately not. That's the one thing that I wish had happened in this film, is that they'd been able to convince Rick Moranis to come back to play Louis in that big finale. And then, you know, I don't know what he would have been able to do. It's emotional support. I'm sure he still has comedic chops and physical humor. But overall, this was a fun romp. I liked how crazy they're getting with the Ghostbusters. Really just, like, leaving the whole... just getting crazy with it. It's not some eldritch being like Gozer kind of is. It's not whatever the fuck was going on in the second one. It's not just a possession like the 2016 one. It's not Gozer again like it was in Afterlife. It's just an insane idea for a villain, a monstrous villain, who fucking plugs his horns back into his head and just in a disgusting scene. And I had a great time with it. I really hope that they're making a third one, because I will be there opening day like I was for this one, and I was for Afterlife, and I was for the 2016 one. But with that, I must call an end to the episode. Join me next week for when I discuss Savage Dragon issues 8 and on. I don't know how far I'll get between now and the next time I'll record. I am, if you're unaware, reading through the entirety of Savage Dragon. I bought all 10 archive volumes of the series, which goes until issue 250. Currently, they just released about issue 268, 269. I think it was 269, just came out around now, sometime recently, within like the past week, I think. So I am working my way up there. 30 years of comics I'm reading through, so that'll hopefully be a weekly thing. This happened when I was talking about Ann Nocenti's Daredevil as well, is that I kept pushing back when I was going to discuss them. But what did you think of this episode? What did you think of... Ghostbusters Frozen Kingdom? Let me know in the comments. Deadpool 3, the Penguin, that blue milk thing. Marvel Rivals, Crow's Nest, caca. The unfortunate news about Cartoonist Kayfabe. Let me know in the comments below. As always, follow me on Instagram at NotBlakeWild. Check out my Patreon, patreon.com/Smokey'sVideos for early access to videos, art, exclusive videos on there and series, and of course my comic books. And check out my Etsy shop, BlakeTWild at Etsy.com. And I will see you next time. Bye!